here, and what I want to do is that whenever this form is submitted, I want to do something. In this case, I want to search I want to fetch the information from the API. So I'm going to do ng submit. This is how I'm telling, hey, whenever this form is submitted, do the following. I want to call this function search. And now I need to like specify that function in here. So now whenever let me do something here. I'm just gonna say console log hello. So you're gonna see that whenever this is submitted, whenever this is clicked, it's gonna say hello on the console underneath. Okay, so now what I need is I need to fetch the contents of the input, and in order to do that, I'm gonna bind it to a variable in the scope. That means that whatever I put here is going to be available in the controller. So I'm just going to create a new variable called scope.query. Going to initialize it to the empty string. And wait, there's too many things. And what I'm going to do is in this input element here, I'm just going to say ng module. It's going to be the query variable, which I called query. So now in here, whenever the contents of that input change, it's going to be updating that variable. So if instead of hello, I'd say scope query. You're going to see that it's now logging the contents of the input correctly. All right, so now what I need to do is to get that query and make the request to the API. And in order to do that, I first I've done this before, but if I've never did it, I would go to the API documentation, and I would say, hey, this is an example API request. This is not exactly the request I have to make, but because what this request is doing is it's fetching the movie with ID 550. But I'm gonna copy this for now. And the exact request that I have to make is the one that searches for the movie. In this case, it's here. It says that it's slash search slash movie. This is what I need to do. It's also telling me that I have to pass a query parameter, which is going to contain the query that I'm querying for. So instead of slash movie slash 500, I'm gonna say this is slash movies slash search, and I also need to pass query, which is gonna be scope.query. This is the URL that I need to call in order to fetch the results for that query. So now I just have to make the call. In order to make a call, Angular provides a service that makes it very easy. It's called $HTTP. And again, I just get it by adding a new argument into this function, and Angular is going to check the name, and it's going to pass it. We're going to get we're going to make a GET request, and the URL is going to be the one that I defined before. So this function here is going to make a request to the API, and this is going to return a promise. A promise is, you can imagine of a promise, this is not returning the result because it's an async operation. That means that it's making the request, and whenever the server returns with the results, at that point I'm going to have the results, but not before. The way we encapsulate this is with the concept of a promise. A promise is just a box that will eventually have a result, but it doesn't have it right now. And the way you tell a promise, hey, whenever you have the result, in this case, then here I have the result of the request. You say, whenever you have the results, execute this function. Let's see how the response of the call looks like. Okay. So there's something wrong with the query. Oh yeah, that's true. Thank you. Wait, fuck. Well, that sucks. I didn't have this problem before. Let me try something. So this is not correct. Okay, I'm just gonna check. I did this exercise before, so I'm just gonna copy that. Search movies. There was an express. Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. Right. So if I look now for Terminator, this should look okay. So this is we can see here that we made a call to this API, and this is the response that we got. We can see there's a list of results, and there's basically just a bunch of information about the different movies. That is cool because now I can get that, put it into the scope, and show it into the view. And that is what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to get the movies. I'm going to initialize this movies variable. Connect to an an empty array. And this is rest.data.results. This is the array of movies that I got. I'm going to put it scope.movies. Cool. So now, whenever I submit the button, that's going to make a request. It's going to fetch some movies from the API, and it's going to make that available into the view. So now, what we need to do is show them in the view, basically. I have a table here. This table has a head with the title, release date, and the popularity of the movie. I just need to show in that table one row for every result that I got. The way to do that is with the entry repeat directive. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say for each movie in movies, do the following. Here, show the movie title, and the movie release date, which I think was this property, and the movie popularity. If this is working now, once I press search, it will show some results, and it seems it works. Okay, so what are some things that we could do here? I don't like how this date looks. It looks very ugly. It looks like it's backwards. It's showing the date first, the year first, then the month and the day. I want to show it. Nice, more nice, in a more nice way. And what we're going to do is we're going to use what in Angular terms is called a filter. And a filter is just a function that you can use in this kind of language that Angular defines. I'm going to say, hey, this is a date. This is going to parse the string. And now I can specify a format that I want to show that date in. The Angular documentation is great. I can say Angular filter, and it's going to show me all the documentation for the date filter, for example. And here it's saying that, okay, this is the way this filter works. You have the expression, you say date, and then you can pass a format and an optional time zone. In this case, I want to show my release, the movie release date with this format, for example. So I'm just gonna pass this thing. This is the format name. If I try it now, we should see that the dates look nicer now. Okay. So the next step is that whenever I want to see more information about each of these movies, and the way I'm going to do it is that I'm going to make this the name a link, and whenever I click the link, it's going to take me to another view where it's going to show a little bit more information about that movie. First of all, we're going to create. No, this is the other one. We are going to create another view that is going to take a movie ID, and it's going to show me information for that movie. I'm going to create another view here. Gonna make sure that it works. Gonna delete this for now. If I say movie one, 2, 3, should take me to the view that we just created. Okay, so one thing that I want to do, for example, now is I want to be able to have this header here common in both views. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move it from the movie list view, and I'm gonna move it into the index. By having it into the index, it's gonna show all the time, which is the behavior that I would expect, not having to define this navigation bar for every view. And inside this movie, I'm just gonna copy the design that my design team has worked on. And if I refresh this, this is the design with like placeholder data. I now need to like fetch information for the movie with this ID and show it in this view. And we're gonna do it in this way. First, I need to create a new controller for this view. I'm gonna call it movie controller. Just gonna make it here. I'm gonna delete all of this. Yes. I'm creating a new one. Oh yes. Let me go back to the other view. You mean this view? Okay. Yes. Yes. No. No. So these are the results that the API has returned me. Yeah, it could be that the API is not looking only in the title, but it's also looking on the description, and maybe the description is yeah. This looks like some sort of, it's sort of related to Terminator. So this is just showing the results that the API is returning me. Okay, so this is a little bit hard to explain, but this is JavaScript. How to explain? So the question is, why do I have a hash symbol in the URL and not like the regular like folder structure? And that is because this. Yes. Yes, we don't want to make another petition to the server, and by doing this, so this is just this requires me to explain the structure of URLs. In URLs, you can put a hash and anything after it, and Angular uses that part of the URL to build the root. And yes, yes. So it's sort of fake path. Where was I? Okay. we said that we wanted to make this a link. And we want this to go to Vista movie.id. So now, for Terminator again, this will take me to the details page, which I'm still not like fetching the information from the movie. That I'm going to do right now. One thing that I would like to do is whenever this view is going to render, I want the movie information to be ready. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say, hey, whenever this root matches, you're going to resolve the following dependencies, and you're going to fetch the movie. And in order to fetch the movie, we have to make another request to the server. I'm going to copy the code that I wrote for the other request. In this case, it's not a query anymore, but I'm going to fetch a specific movie. So it's going to be movies slash some movie ID. Now I need to get this movie ID from the URL. And in order to do that, I need to inject the root service that is going to give me some information about the root they just matched. I'm just saying like the parameters for the current root, and I'm going to fetch the movie ID. And since I called it movie ID here, this is going to fill this object, so I can just like get the ID from there. I'm also going to need, again, to inject the HTTP service. And this is by passing it into the function. This is going to call the API, and it's going to return a promise. And I'm going to return that promise. And since I'm telling Angular, hey, resolve the following dependencies, Angular is going to execute this function, and it's going to say, hey, oh, you gave me a promise. I'm just going to wait for it to resolve. And whatever is the result, I'm just going to give it back to you. So if I go back to the controller, now I can inject the movie. Because I told Angular, hey, when this root matches, you are going to need to resolve those dependencies because I'm going to need them in the controller. Since I have the movie now, I can just append it to the scope. And I need to add the script file for this controller. And since I have it in the scope, I should be able to say, hey, movie title. Let's see if that works first. Again, I fucked up with the URL. Movies, it's movie. We have problem here with the S's. Okay, so we can see that it's fetching the movies correctly. So I just need to like fill the rest of the data, which I'm gonna do now. I need to check how the data looks like. So I have a poster path, and I have an overview that seems to be the description. Cool. So in here, I'm going to show the overview, movie the overview. Here I'm showing the year for the movie. That is the release date again. I'm going to use the date filter again, but in this case, I just want to show the year. So if I go here and I say, it says here, oh, this is the format that I want. I want to get the year in 4 digits. So I'm just going to do Y. Again, I refresh this and it seems to be working. It's showing the year correctly. It's showing the description. It's just missing the image. And in order to show the image, there was a variable called poster path. But it wasn't the complete URL. And in order to get the complete URL, there was something that you needed to do. I'm just going to copy that. Is movie. In order to get the complete URL, you need to add this. That is the server where the API is hosting the images. And this should be working now. Yes. Yes. The difference is that if you do it in the results, you know that when the controller is executed, that is going to be available at that point. The problem with the router getting very long, you can solve it by extracting those bits into another file or into a service, an Angular service. You would make a service that fetches a certain movie. So in that case, you would only like, the result would be a single line, would be just calling a function. Yes. Yes. The Angular has a very nice framework for dependency injection, and I like to use it. It makes things a lot of easier to reason about. If you know that your controller is always going to have a movie, then testing becomes way easier. Okay. So we finished. We finished with the app. I'm going to explain now about a tool that I consider very useful if you're going to build like applications that you want to eventually put in production. And that tool is called Geoman. Has anyone heard about it? So Geoman is a tool that will basically create a project for you, but it will create a project that is like with all the build tools and everything. Just makes it super easy to have something that you can just like take it and put into a static website hosting, and it's going to be like all like ready. In order to install Geoman, wait a second. I'm not going to install it here because it takes like 3-4 minutes to install. I'm just going to execute it. Wait. The way you create German project is by calling Joe, the name of the generator. In this case, it's an Angular generator, and the name of the app. In this case, I'm going to call it movies. This is going to make me a series of questions. It's saying, would you like to use gulp instead of grunt? Those are two different task runners. In this case, it's saying that gulp is experimental, so I'm just going to say no. I want to use grunt. It's asking, would you like to use Sass instead of regular CSS? It's going to say no. Would you like to include Bootstrap? Yeah, why not? Now it's going to ask me, hey, which one of these official modules would you like to include? I'm just going to say, I'm fine with just Angular root. And this is going to go install like everything. It's going to take like 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm just going to cancel. I did it at home. And this is what it ends up installing. This is creating a grunt file. A grunt file is just a tool that you can specify different tasks. So I can say grunt serve, and this is going to create a server like the one that I did before, but with a lot more features like live reloading. So whenever I do a change in the app, it's going to update at the moment. So if we take a look at the structure that this Geoman is creating, we're going to see that we have an app folder, and this is what's going to contain all the sources for the JavaScript app. You're going to see there's an index like the one we created before. There's also scripts. There's an app here with and a folder for controllers. There's also a test folder. I'm going to talk about tests after this. And this is the grunt file. The grunt file is just like configuring a lot of things that this is doing. If we have a look at the build task, we're going to see some of the things that it does. We're going to see that it's minifying a bunch of things. It's minifying the CSS. It's minifying the JavaScript. It's concatenating everything. It's also using ng annotate, which is something that I will talk about later. It's using CDNs when it can. So you can see that it's doing like everything so that you don't have to think about it. Again, it minimizes everything. It just completely is. I mean, the end result of this is that it gives you a folder, and that folder you can just put in your static website hosting like S3. What I want to do now is I want to take what we wrote before, and I want to put it into this Geoman project that I just created. So I'm going to take this, put it in here. I'm going to delete these controllers, and I'm going to put mine. I'm going to get this index. I'm going to put it here. I need to reference my controllers rather than the ones that we had before. And I need to get my BIOS into the BIOS folder. I can get rid of this. So if I run surf now to show the website that we built before. I basically grabbed what we did before and put it into the Geoman project that I created. If I look for Terminator now, you can see that everything still works. Look for Martian, everything's still working. The cool thing about this is, wait, this is going to be a little bit hard to see here. I'm going to put this. Geoman is creating a live loading service. That means that whenever I make a change, that change is going to show immediately. So instead of plot, say summary, we can see that it updates automatically. This is super helpful when you're developing because it allows you to like go quicker. Again, we could do like any change we wanted. Imagine I don't like the year there, so I just want to move it. Underneath. I don't need to go to the browser and click on reload. It's going to do automatically every time I save. And this is very cool. This makes development a lot faster. Okay. So I want.
There are a lot of frameworks, and there are one specifically that is gaining popularity, like Facebook React.
Yes.
Do you think that React is better than Angular or different concepts?
I've personally given up on Angular. I think React is way better. I mean, I've been working with Angular for 3 years now, and I've recently started working with React, and it's, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but to me, it's like they're doing everything correctly. It's yeah. So React is claiming that it's just view in MVC. They're claiming that it's just the view. But in order to like overcome that, Facebook came up with the idea of Flux, and Flux is just an architecture on how to build applications. I'm not going to go into details, but it basically states on how to like structure your application so that you can use like, so that it becomes more like MVC. Again, I think React is very cool. I highly recommend like taking a look into it because I don't know, I really like it. Yes. So in order to build mobile applications, you have React Native. I've only played with it. I've never built like a real application with React Native. But the idea that it's not HTML, that it's like an actual native application that it's running, that is very appealing to me because with frameworks like Ionic or like basically anything that's based on like Apache Cordova or anything that it's pretending to be a native app but it's still HTML, it's never gonna feel completely native. So yeah, so I think React Native in some ways better than Ionic, although they are not really the same thing. For Protractor, I've never really tried Protector with React, so I cannot say. I think I've tried Protector with Angular, and it's very cool that you can test end-to-end applications so easily. But I've never done it in a React application. It probably has a little bit of personal preference, but there's things that I like more. I think I like one thing that I like about React is it's JavaScript. It's not like in Angular where you have this language for templates and all these directives that you have to remember. In React you have JavaScript. Also modularization in React. I think it's way better than in Angular. I think directives are a nightmare to people who are just trying to understand Angular. When you want to build like custom directives, I don't know if anyone has done it before. Like, so who has done like real life applications again, like in production with Angular? So the way you like create components in Angular is called directives, and it's not like straightforward sometimes to create them. It's like very complicated. Sometimes you just like copy paste and like hope that everything is going to work. And in React, I never had that problem. It was straightforward. Some of the reasons that I like React over Angular, I like the idea of using requires, like if you were doing node development and then having your webpack just bundling everything together. Yeah, I mean, and as I said, it's probably also like personal opinion. Like, I've heard React is a lot faster for like certain things, especially when there's lots of DOM elements. The way React renders the DOM is that it tries to reuse as much as possible, and it doesn't have Angular 30 checking. It's not like checking every time you make a change. It's not like Angular that is checking like everything. So let me go back. In Angular, the way data binding works is that every time Angular executes some code, it checks like if there was any change in all the variables that it's watching. So what happens is like in large applications, if you're not careful, you might end up with Angular watching like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of variables if you have like a large table or something. And that really affects performance. And that happens very often if you have like, I don't know, business applications where you're showing like table with like tons of rows. That sometimes kills the app, as in like it doesn't make it nice to work with. So, well, they said that for the last 3 years, and it's still a release candidate. So, again, I said I lost hope. I gave up on Angular. They've been talking about Angular 2 for like 3 years now, and it's still a beta. I haven't played that much. I tried a long time ago when they first released it, when it was still like not even TypeScript, it was ATScript. It was cool. I tried running a Hello World. It felt okay, but again, I feel like they saw React and say, hey, these guys have done like a lot of things better, and they try to make it look more like React. So I was going to show a little bit of testing, but I don't know how we're doing on time. Are we okay? Is Alberto or Mark here? Are you guys tired? Huh? What is the Angular approach for server rendering? I heard there was some sort of hack. There's not an official way. That's one of the other things that I like a lot about React server rendering. I'm not an expert on React, but yeah, I think server rendering is very cool. And I mean, some time ago I saw tweets about people trying to do server rendering in Angular, and it looks like they did it, but there's not like an official way of doing it. Are we good on time? Ten minutes. Okay. That's it. It's going to be very short. In our controllers, there's not much to test. In this movie list, we only have a function, so we're going to test that function. And what we're going to do is we're going to test that whenever that function is called, there's an HTTP request being made, and with the results that HTTP request is sending back, it's filling a movies. So we're basically going to show that whenever this is called, after it's called, there's going to be some movies inside this variable. In order to do that, wait a second. Let me close a little bit of this. Yeoman has a cool feature that allows you to create controllers from the command line. And when you create a controller, it also creates a test for it, a test file. So I'm just going to use Yo Angular controller. I'm going to create a controller with the same name as the one I created before. Movie list. It's going to say, hey, you already have a controller called movie list. Do you want to override it? I'm going to say no. But it still created the test for it. So we're gonna go there. We're gonna check what's in here. These two tests we don't care about anymore. But the movie list. So Angular, sorry, Geoman is creating this file for me. I'm going to test that at the beginning the movie array is empty. So I'm just going to say let me fix this. I say that movies dot length equals to 0. It's going to execute the test. And there was an error. An undefined error. All right. the one that I did before. Let me see if this is working. Oh, okay. Okay, I know what's happening. I'm going to explain right now what I'm testing. Can find variable in scope. Closer. Cool, this is working. Okay, so I'm going to go over the test. This is what we're going to do. I'm testing that whenever I call search on that controller, it's going to make an HTTP request. So this is saying, hey, expect a get on a URL that matches the following. And it's saying this URL is going to start with this thing, and it's going to contain query equals Martian, because I previously specified that the query was going to be Martian. It says whenever this request is made, you're going to return with a code 200, which means like that the request is okay, and with these results. I call search. I say flush. This is the way it works when testing HTTP requests. You just have to believe it. And now I can expect that that there's going to be a movie inside the movies variable. This is working. I can run grunt test, and this is going to execute all the tests, and this is going to say that hey, all of the tests succeeded. What I wanted to show with this was that testing in Angular is super easy. Like all of the framework is like ready for it. If you use $HTTP, then if you use the $HTTP service Angular provides rather than jQuery.ajax, Angular, when testing, can like mock that service, and it allows you to test the requests without actually making them, and that is what we're doing here. We're calling HTTP backend, and we're telling it whenever you're going to make a request that looks like this, just like intercept it and return the following. And this is very helpful for testing because not only does it make the HTTP request, but it also does it like synchronously, which means that the tests are going to run like crazy fast. So this Geoman thing like encourages this because you saw before, like I created a controller and it creates both the controller and the test for the controller. So yeah, so you could like test-driven development very easily. You could just like create the test and create the feature in the controller. Angular embraces testing, and it's very easy to do. Not for mocking, but you could use like any other JavaScript frameworks, like Jasmine. So you need other libraries to create mocks. So let me check. I think this is using Jasmine. Yeah. So this is just like I've used Jasmine before. Yeah, this is using Jasmine. It's a library for testing. All of these functions describe before each test, after each test, and then the expectations. These functions are like they come from a library called Jasmine. Yeah, Geoman is building all of that. So Geoman, the good thing about Geoman, there's also a bad thing about Geoman, which I'm going to explain now. But the good thing is that it gives you a structure that everything is working. The bad thing is that it does so much that it can be very complex if you want to make a change, because it's doing so much that it's fragile. When something's big, it becomes fragile very easily. Hmm? Yes. Yes, you could say that. Yeah. Before we finish, for those of you who are still interested in like using Angular and not React, this is a list of like cool libraries that I basically every time I needed to create a new project, I added them by default. These are very cool libraries that have been very helpful. UI router, for example, ng-root is it sucks. UI router is very cool. It allows you to do like views inside views, like have like everything correlated to the URL. It's a little bit complex. It takes some time to understand, but if you need to do something complex, you're gonna need UI router at some point. UI bootstraps, it's cool if you're using Bootstrap or like you modify Bootstrap to make it look custom, but you're still following the same structure. UI Bootstrap is very cool. It's basically all the Bootstrap JS features rewritten in Angular so that they are very easy to integrate into your app. UI Grid is also very cool. You can see there's like several projects that start with UI. There's a group of people that I think they call UI Angular or whatever. They build like a lot of cool projects. UI Grid is a grid for showing data. It's very useful if you're building like some business applications where you have to use you have to show a table with lots and lots of data. This says rectangular, but it's actually rectangular. Probably like the autocorrect. Screw that. Rectangular is a service for handling REST APIs. If you're dealing a lot with REST APIs or like even multiple REST APIs, Rectangular makes it very, very easy to make requests and subsequent requests with the objects that you get back. Basically, if your application does a lot of requests, consider having a look at this. And Angular translates also very cool if you need your application to be in multiple languages. So yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you.